Welcome and thank you for tuning in. You're listening to the Beyond 50 radio program. I'm Daniel Davis. Today, coffee seems to be on the tip of my tongue as we discover something that a lot of you should come to know about. After all, with 80% growth year over year with more than 2 million cups sold, we've got a carefully crafted coffee that is not only organic, but it's acid-free. As a matter of fact, when this product was first developed by this guest's father, Ian, which was a genius biochemist, this 14-year-old Tyler shared the revolutionary coffee with neighbors and friends, then bringing the product to market on his bicycle at the age of 16. So how did this 16-year-old year after year do it? How did he grow this coffee empire in a business that's particularly niched? I mean, you think of people such as Seattle's Coffee, Starbucks, or perhaps even Folgers. How do you get into this? We're going to discover what challenges faced him and what a small business owner can face compared to bigger companies. So I'd like to welcome the Beyond 50 radio program today our guest, Coffee Reinvented, CEO of Tyler's Coffee, Tyler Ornstein. Tyler, thank you for being back on the program today.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. And what a great intro. I really appreciate that, too.
Well, if you can have a little fun introducing people who do cool things, I think what makes our show kind of a spearhead as opposed to most is we tend to find people who you might say are little Davids out there. And it's the whole idea that when you discover there are those people out there that you might have a dream or an idea, and, well, if somebody else can do it, why can't you? And you're certainly one of those. Let's talk about how this all started for you.
Oh, of course, yeah. So my father started me in the business, and the reason why he started is he's a chemist trade, and he started getting stomach issues and went to the doctor, and the doctor said, well, I'm sorry, you can't drink coffee anymore, because that was one of the things that him and I bonded over. And he said, well, why can't I drink coffee anymore? And I said, well, it's because of the acid. There's a low pH, and your body doesn't like it. And unfortunately, it doesn't go well with you. And he goes, no, that's not an option. And so he figured out when the tannic and lipid acids bloom in the roasting process, and by working with an electrical engineer, mechanical engineer, and a very long-time roaster, they figured out what it took and what it was created. And essentially how to make an acid-free coffee by using a proprietary Z-roasting process.
Wow, amazing. And so now he could have his coffee and drink it too then, huh?
Yeah. Yep, and so by using the Z-roasting process, we were able to yield a neutral pH for customers that suffer from chronic-related issues, and moving forward, it was a phenomenal idea. Now, fast forward, we're now in Amazon and eBay and Jet and 500 retailers the country, but it didn't start that way. It started with a bicycle, a backpack, and a dream to build and create an idea. And I really can't stress it enough. Every business starts with a conception and then goes into birthing. And I'll never forget the time it took for me from conception to birth. I was going door to door. I was dropping off coffee samples, and I was only asking for phone number and a name to call him back. And I never will forget this very sweet old lady. I called her and I said, how did you enjoy the coffee? And she goes, you know what? It was really good. Where do I get it? I was like, well, from me. She's like, how much is it? And I was like, $1. I didn't know what the value of it was. We didn't build enough value in the standpoint of, I didn't know. I was just trying to get a test market, right?
Sure.
And so after I told her that, she's like, okay, well, bring me $10 worth. And it was a light bulb moment. It allowed me to figure out, okay, no longer are we just a conceptual idea. This is now a validity. And the validity is that people are willing to pay for this product and this idea.
And you hit on a key point, too, because I know over the years I've had many friends who have decided, I have this business idea, I'm going to go out and I'm going to implement it. And the biggest thing that I see as a short on people is the fact that they don't ask for the sell. Now, to give you an idea, one time we were working a trade show. We like to go out and do trade shows to promote our radio show. At least this was pre-COVID, and hopefully we'll be able to get back to that again. But there was a time they had set us next to a chocolatier. Okay, so these guys made all of their chocolate from scratch, that sort of thing. Really, really good stuff. And after being next to him for a good few hours watching what was going on, I said, have you guys ever worked a trade show before? And they said, no, this is actually our first one. I said, well, A, I can tell. B, did you want to sell chocolates here, or did you just want people to taste them for free? He says, well, our goal is to sell them. And I said, really? Then how come you're putting out all of these samples for people to just come up, grab, give you a dirty look, and then walk off like they're just entitled to free chocolate? I mean, is that how you want to sell it? He says, well, no. And I said, then pull the samples back and have them ask you for one. And I said, the magic is now you've got this underlying commitment that has occurred. And he says, really? He says, because the first several hours I'm just watching this, it was like, the free buffet was open. And so I think it was the next day, I asked him, I said, so how are sales going? He says, man, they're going through the roof. I said, see?
Yeah.
But you've got to demand that your product, your time has to be worth something, and you've got to decide on that. And I think the biggest obstacle that I see, and certainly you can attest to this because you just went right for the sale, it sounds like, is that too many people feel to get a customer that they have to offer something to them for free to earn their business. Now, what would you say to that?
Unless you're just trying to figure out if if your product is going to be received well in the marketplace, I would definitely agree that it's the value that you put behind your product reflects the value of what the product is. So I like using cars, for example, because everyone can relate to cars. There's Ford and there's Ferrari. The Ferrari, they hand build their cars, and the leathers are, hand stitched, and they're the finest grain leathers that you can find. And everything is absolutely pristine, perfect. They use, 8 layers of clear coat to get the gloss that you're looking for. Where Ford is, we're going to mass produce it for the masses, and it's going to be the quality of Ferrari, but it's going to get you from A to B, and it's going to be cost effective. So when you look at a product, regardless of service or physical good, you kind of have to figure out where you're going to place yourself in the marketplace. And that's kind of the blue water, red water territory, argument. Are you going to put yourself in red water territory where you're just going to be price competitive, or are you going to put yourself in blue water territory where you're a niche market and you're going to have essentially a higher price point because there's nothing like it? There's plus and minuses on both sides. I would say if you're looking for a long-term corporate business model that will be quote-unquote valuable down the road, I would go with the blue water territory. If you're looking for a quick buck, then red water territory. I mean, another good example would be the Amazoners. They go and they buy products and they sell the products and they make a 5 to 10% return on investment, and then they take that 5 or 10, go buy another product, and kind of loop that system where they're only buying off of pre-existing companies that have already done the R&D in the establishment. So, it's just how you want to sell. How you want to sell. Do you want to sell a unique, like for example, Tyler Coffee? That is so unique, so different that it took 6 years just to get people interested in the idea.
Absolutely. And I would have to ask, what kind of obstacles have you seen as you've been into business that small businesses typically encounter?
I think small businesses encounter a lot of issues, especially in the startup phase. I can't stress that enough. I mean, to start a small business, to start an idea, to start a concept, takes one thing alone. And I can't stress this enough. And guess what? It's not money. It's time. You have $1 million in the bank, and I'm not going to say that wouldn't help. Certainly would. But if you don't have the time or the passion or the interest or the involvement or the desire, you're going to lose $1 million real quick. If you have no money, but you have the passion, drive, desire, and interest to make the idea, the concept that you're trying to start successful, you're going to be very, very successful, and you're going to have long-term income.
I know a lot of people tend to think when it comes to business that they, need money to get started, and I can attest that that's not true. You can actually start with other people's money. I mean, we started our radio program, 17 going on 18 years now, and rarely put, a dime. You just go out and you find advertisers. I'll tell you, one of the most phenomenon that we've actually experienced was people, as they do radio shows we've encountered over the years, how do you guys make money doing this? I said, did you ever think about just getting someone interested and ask for the sale? I mean, it's pretty straightforward.
Yeah, and you also, I think you're absolutely right on the money there. You don't need money. What you do need is you need to have customers. I mean, literally. I mean this in like the most rudimental way possible. If you're not going to have customers, but you're going to have money, you will fail. You will fail so fast, you will spin. And all that money that you have, OPMs, other people's money, or your own money, or doesn't matter. You're going to lose it faster than you can make it if you don't have a customer base to fill your desired product and service. It's just it. You need to have customers more than you need money. I mean, if you want to have a successful business, now, if you want to make more money on money, go in the markets. Go buy some Bitcoin. Go buy some real estate and do a long-term investment. Buy gold if you're going to do a really long-term investment. I'm not saying you shouldn't use your money to make money, but I am saying that a business only runs off of, one thing, and that's customers that will pay you versus money that, what are you going to use money for? The marketing? Okay, once the marketing dollars are gone and you don't have customers, what do you have? You have debt loss.
What other, how about marketing?
What do you mean, how about marketing?
Yeah, how would you suggest small businesses, who may not have a large marketing budget? I mean, you kind of just went out there and started sort of face-to-face.
Yeah, and I didn't have social media. Now social media has built companies, huge companies, multi-million-dollar companies. Fab Athletics is one of them. If you read her story, or not read her story, but followed her story, she was sitting in the car and was like, I have this idea. And then this idea became more of an idea. And then she's like, well, how do I get my idea out there? Well, I have an Instagram account, put all her stuff on Instagram, found a co-shipper, drop shipper, not a co-shipper, a drop shipper. And, just took it from there. I mean, I would say, like, if you and we use this. I mean, Tyler's Coffees pays for ads and on social media, and we make a return. We say, okay, but we didn't have that money beforehand. What we did is we would say, okay, why don't we just post stuff and let our friends and family repost it, and then get the word out there. And let your family and friends do that. I mean, tell them, hey, it doesn't cost you to repost my post. And how many people do you have on your downline and friends? Oh, I got 500 friends? Okay, well, we're going to see that. And those 100 friends will repost that. Someone's going to buy your product. Then you take that money, you set it aside, and you say, okay, our COGS, cost of goods sold, is this. Yeah, another really interesting and funny, not really funny, ironic, that's the right word, situation that I've encountered with small businesses is they never get their books straight. They never have. I pay an accountant $250 a month to do all my books. I got lucky in that deal for sure, but it was the best $250 you'll ever spend. And the reason why is because when you have someone doing your books that actually knows how to do your books, because a lot of business owners hate the word tax and they hate the word books and they hate the word that. But what they can do is they can look at a P&L. They can look at a COGS. They can look at a report. They can look at income value. They can look at a bank statement, and they say, okay, this is where I'm standing.
And well, you were mentioning about getting an accountant. I know a lot of people out there are thinking, well, I don't know about all that, and I'll tell you what you can do. And it's pretty phenomenal when you see where the money's coming in from and especially where it's going. I know I had a real eye-opener in the first 2 years of our business where I realized the money that we were down, for instance, paying a station was almost exactly the same amount of money that I actually took out of the business for other expenses. And when I seen that, it glared at me. I went, wow. And it changed everything, the way I thought about the money coming in and where it went. And we started actually getting all caught up on everything. And so a person out there might be thinking, well, yeah, I don't know if I can afford to get a bookkeeper CPA. Well, here's what you can do. You have QuickBooks, and you have QuickBooks Online. So you're setting up your business account. And they, since the days that I first started with QuickBooks, when you had to enter everything manually, and being the kind of procrastinator that I could be, is that I would end up, waiting a whole year. Then I'd pull the receipts out, and I would have to go and enter everything rather than doing it, week to week or month to month. But here's the thing. QuickBooks has changed where they sync up with your bank, so they actually bring all this stuff in. All you got to do is decide where it goes. You talk about easy.
No question.
What you do is then you find a bookkeeper who by the end of the month, or in my case even at the end of the year, you have them come in and make sure they have QuickBooks experience. You give them the back door to get in. Then they go ahead and they audit and they go through everything. Balance the accounts out and ask any questions that they need to have answered from you. And then you turn it into a CPA. I mean, it's flawless and it's easy. So, and you're starting off, it's like, when I started it was like $10 or $15 a month, and now it's up to $25, but you still can't beat the kind of time that it saves you, and then you can actually take a look at how your business is doing, as you said, in real time under a magnifying glass, and that's very encouraging.
Absolutely, I agree 100%. And the other very interesting thing is, the old adage is a penny paid is a penny earned. I 100% buy into that. If I can say, okay, I can cut my cost here, it doesn't affect my product, it doesn't affect my service, and I can reallocate these funds into either the operating account, or I can reallocate it into my marketing, and my ROAS is, and I know if I put in this amount of money, I'm going to get this amount of money out. The marketing, it's a really good tool. It's a really, really good tool to know where you're at, how you're going, and where you're from. And I'll tell you a quick story. I bought a condo, and this is 2013. And I was in charge. I was in charge of the condo. I essentially bought it because I was like, all right, I'm buying this, I'm gonna rent it. Well, lo and behold, the association is falling apart. It seems management didn't know what the heck they were doing. So I went to the HOA meeting, and I was like, I run a company. Why don't I take a crack at it? I became the president for 4 years. I saved them $70,000 the first year. I saved them $30,000 the second year. I went positive in the account for the first time ever. And it was because we were frivolously spending on things that really didn't even have any value to the HOA, but yet the people that were running it didn't have a good set of books.
Because it's not their money at stake, then they tend to really don't care either.
Right.
You know, sort of like our government.
Oh, my God, don't get me started.
You know, and I wanted to point out something, too, when I had asked the question earlier about marketing. Here's a piece of advice, and see what you think about this, is YouTube, in my opinion, has probably been one of the greatest miracles in its own way for a business person who wants to launch a business. It's absolutely free to sign up. It's absolutely free for you to create videos and post them. And you can build an audience, and you've got all the metrics you need in basically real time. You know, the kind of people who are watching your channel, the kind of people, how long are they watching it, what things are they interested in. You begin to learn things, you know, like the right kinds of keywords, not keyword stuffing like people used to do, but, you know, and what you're doing is you're producing a video of real value. So I would say to you, Taylor, let's say, for instance, you wanted to start a YouTube channel. Besides coffee, what else has your biggest interest that you would like to share with people on YouTube? Just, this is so we can give people, our listeners, an example of what I'm talking about here.
Well, I'm a car guy. I love cars.
There you go.
Everyone
so you would
knows.
start a car channel. Now, what would make your car channel unique?
So funny enough, let's actually go down this road real quick. So I'm a car guy, but I've also wanted to be a pilot for the longest time.
And you can do that too. This could all be part of. Like, you could actually do a series on engines. Did you know this car engine was developed as a result? Now I'm just, you know, guessing of this particular jet or this particular thing going on in NASA. You know, so now you start showing relationships. The point is, though, is I'm sharing with you that through your passion, you will gain an audience. That's the beauty of it.
Easily.
And it won't cost you anything except for your time.
Mm-hmm. Well, I was going to say that audience pays you because YouTube will pay you.
Right. And so you've got that. But what I'm saying, though, now is your actual business can come into it. Like in your case, it was coffee. You know, nothing wrong with you sitting behind a Lamborghini. Well, this is what I like about this particular car, and you're drinking, it says Tyler's Coffee. You know, whatever. And by the way, this is acid-free coffee. If you want to find out how to get this, you know, the link's down below. You see how you're advertising the product, but that's not why people are there. And I think the problem with YouTube, when people see the opportunity to grow their business, they only think about their business. And I say, but what about taking a hobby and a passion and making that your YouTube channel message, and then whatever your business in comes in behind it? And when you see people doing what I'm suggesting, then you go, aha, I didn't think about it that way before. Anyway.
Yeah, I was really impressed with this one YouTuber. So this guy, and it's like come on, you know, you're out of your mind. And I go, look, it's just, this is what people spend their time on. I don't have a say in it, right? This guy builds plastic models for planes. He builds dioramas. He builds tanks. He builds cars. He builds just models, like toy models that not really that big anymore, but in the 90s, every kid had a model kit. This guy makes 4 to 6 million views on each video. And if you do the YouTube calculation, he's making about $80,000 to $90,000 per video. This guy's retired. All he does is build models.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy. Mm-hmm. It's crazy. This guy's a multi-millionaire because he builds plastic models.
Mm-hmm.
Unbelievable.
And so there you go. And so anyway, that was just something I thought I'd throw out there, because a lot of times people think of public relations firms, which is great if you want to have an image and a brand and, you know, things like that. But the basic thing to grow a small business is you got to get out there with your idea in front of people. And that's how that starts. And what was that like for you in the early years after you finally convinced one person to buy, you know, 10 bags or whatever the case is for $1? How did you see your evolution when it came to marketing and just getting your business out there that you'd like to share with our audience?
I think the best way to look at it is build off of your own successes. And then also, the most important thing is let other people sell your product. I can't tell you how many times I have not sold my product, but people will call and say, yeah, my friend tried your coffee and absolutely loves it. And it's like, okay. That's free. 100% free. We sold a bag to this lady. She paid good money for our coffee, loved our coffee so much, called up her friend, said, oh, my God, you got to try this coffee. And then her friend said, oh, my God, I'll try it, paid us. Come on. That's the greatest marketing you can get.
Everybody knows about the secret power of word of mouth, no doubt about that. Now, I noticed something here as I was looking around the website and so forth, and I believe it's tylerscoffees.com. That's a plural, tylerscoffees.com. And I was curious about what is known as red water and blue water territory in the industry. What's that all about?
Yeah, sure. So red water is when you're in a competitive environment. Okay. So think of it like you can take any product or any service you really want, like coffee. Let's take coffee. Coffee has essentially not changed for 500 years. Decaf is another huge differentiation. For the most part, you have different roasters, different flavors, different flavor profiles. Okay. So you take Starbucks, you take Maxwell House, you take Folgers, you take, Pete's. All of these coffees have one thing in common: price. So they fight price. They fight price. They fight price. They fight price. They say, oh, it's, artisan roasted, or this is this way, and at the end of the day, it's price. Price and preference. Blue water is acid-free. The world's first and only. So Tesla, blue water. Apple, blue water. Even though Microsoft has a lot of competition against Apple, Microsoft runs a lot of different, computers. So, for example, Microsoft is the software, but you've got Dell, you've got IBM, you've got Compaq, you've got Sony, you've got LG. You got all these companies that work off of that software. Apple said, no, we're going to keep so much of it in-house that the only operating software is going to be on the products and only Apple products. That's blue water. They're very, very niche, very, very unique. You want an operating system on Apple, you only get the Apple operating system. You don't get to buy, like I can't go to Sony and Apple OS system on it. It won't compute. It won't connect. That's the difference.
Gotcha. So how did you become unique in the world of coffee then, would you say? Was it just kind of you just started with a little pebble in the pond and then the ripple effect kind of grew just because you had a really good product?
Exactly. There was a lot of demand for coffee back in the early 2000s when Starbucks was really blowing up. And then in about 2016, 17 is when we really started showing up on people's radar because we were a health product instead of just a normal coffee product.
Oh, there you go.
For the longest time,
okay.
Yeah, for the longest time, people were saying, oh, acid-free coffee? I don't need any acid-free coffee. Thank you. Oh, acid-free coffee? What's that? Oh, yeah, I'm not interested. Oh, wow, that price is way too high. Yeah, we're not interested. Now it's oh my God, I need your coffee. Where's my coffee? I haven't got my coffee. I'm sorry, we're back. Oh my God, we have such a demand. We're nicknamed Quarter Coffee for a reason, because we have such a demand and not enough supply. And the market really built that because people can't drink coffee anymore because it's too acidic. They can drink ours.
Yeah. It's fascinating that you say the idea that people, wow, what do I need acid-free coffee for? And then you see the evolution of change in people and their health and the way they look at health. And I know that on our program, for many years, we talked about, how important it is for the body for you to reduce your intake of acidic foods. You hear a lot about people saying, drink more alkaline water. Now, the body will actually balance a lot of that stuff out on its own, but the fact is there are a lot of times you might be over-consuming acidic foods, which it's been shown in a lot of studies that, a rise in acid in the body, at least from the alkaline stage to the acid side, is where you get a lot more inflammation. You tend to get, the possibility of disease, things like cancer. I mean, this is shown because as you reduce acid and increase alkalinity, then it reverses a lot of that. Cancer doesn't like an alkaline type, situation. They thrive more in acid situations. And so, as you said that you had pretty much put this in the realm of being a health product rather than just something people enjoy in the morning before work, then it kind of changed the game quite a bit.
Could not say it better myself.
Yeah. It's like Starbucks. It's not that their coffee's great, but it's the atmosphere they create.
Sure.
So you can take a product that's huge out there, and I was actually at a big, I call it a sales distribution, I don't know what you want to call it, for Tito's vodka. And through this weekend, I was seeing how they had become this big brand in the world of vodka. Think about that for a minute. And you realize they were just getting into every nook and cranny you can think of, in airports, just everywhere. So people were constantly seeing us. Now, quite frankly, people seem to love Tito's, but I think it's basically an average vodka compared to what's out there. But people are just, can I get Tito's? Sure, if that's what you want. But it's basically, to me, not on the higher end spectrum, but there you go. They figured out a way to get into the market.
No question. Yeah, and I think Tito's holds a very solid value in just mediocre. I would agree with you. Grey Goose is definitely a quality product. It shows in the price point. Tito's is going to be, you're right. I mean, it's a mass market product, but it's a little bit more specialty than Pop-Pop.
It's a fun conversation to be able to talk with people who'd started a small business like you did and grew it into a large one, especially in a niche market. And the whole point that we like to bring people like you on our program is to show people, look, if somebody else can do this, so can you. It may not be coffee. It may be a radio show, or it may be a television show. It may be socks for all we know, but you constantly see people. And once you're awakened to this, like today's show might do for the listener, you'll start seeing it around you, and then you'll start believing, hey, this is really possible. And like you said, the number one thing that people lack isn't money, it's just time. Are you willing to commit yourself the time that's necessary to make this happen? And I can guarantee you in the first year or two, maybe even 3 years, you're going to say, I've worked harder in this than I have in any job in my entire life, and I'm not getting much out of it. But you've got to build that ripple effect. And that's what's going to make the difference. And, I know that you probably used to hear in the early days when you'd get frustrated, let your passion guide you. That's true, because it's your passion that takes you through the hard times that you will face. But, boy, will you be cheerleading and exploding and celebrating when you get to enjoy the highs of something that you've built yourself.
It is very, very humbling experience to know.
Isn't that true?
When you've created something that is bigger than you. When you lose control over your own company. And I'm not saying that in like the sense of someone comes in and buys you out and takes over control. No, I'm saying that you're selling so much product in so many different markets and so many different avenues and so many different ways that you really don't even know where your coffee is being sold. That is a cool experience.
Now, I'm curious, as we're coming to the end of the program, let's talk about some of the resources that you found to be most helpful in your growth.
Well, I think you really hit the nail on the head with QuickBooks. QuickBooks is a great tool for small businesses. I mean, probably one of the best softwares you can ever get into. Another one would be a good CRM, a customer relationship management. You want to be able to put notes with calls that you've made. You want to be able to put invoices with it. You want to be able to build a profile so that you can go and look and say, okay, we talked to this person on this day and they said this, and they said, okay, like, you know, I talked to Joe. Joe said, hey, I love coffee, but I need to talk to Sam because Sam is the buyer. All right. Call back in 2 weeks to talk to Sam because Sam's going to be the decision maker, blah, 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 right? And you can't put this all in your head. And that would be impossible. So you got to have a software that you can, you know, keep up with. Another thing is if you're shipping a physical good, Shipping Easy is going to be your best friend. It also does integration, so you can do auto emails where customer gets the product 5 days later. Hey, thank you so much for being a customer at this coffees. Here's a $2 off coupon on your next order, kind of thing. Or would love to hear your feedback. Right now, we've got a get a free bag if you do a video. Send us a video of your thoughts on Tyler's coffees. We'll send you out a free. And that incentivizes the heck out of people, let me tell you. And those video reviews are worth their weight in gold. You know, so get your people to say, get your customers to be your biggest fans. Say, oh my God, I love the coffee more than anything in the world. Or I'm not saying coffee. I'm saying your product, your service. You know,
right.
I love this. I love this. I love this.
Because you can even have a product, and I know it's like when you go out to a restaurant, and I've heard this fairly consistently over the years, is people say, you know, I'll go to a restaurant that has, you know, decent food. It doesn't have to be great, but I like the service. I like the feeling that somehow it's personal. You know, and that's the number one thing, and it's the same thing that it sounds like you're saying here is the coffee is fantastic and it's acid-free, but it's the people and their experience with it that really matters.
You know, I've been to a lot of restaurants in my life, and I can tell you one thing. It's really ironic and funny. If the service is horrible, the food's fantastic. If the service is great, the food's crap. I don't know what it is. But I'd rather have good food than bad, good service. No, I mean you're trying to create the best experience for a customer, right? You know, it's just super, super important that nowadays you're using a double-edged sword, and that double-edged sword is media, social media. If someone doesn't like your product or service, oh boy, buckle up. It's going to be a rough ride. Someone loves your product and service, great. You're going to get so much free power, you're going to have your head spin around.
You know, and for the listeners out there, too, as they want to go and explore this, again, your website is tylerscoffees.com, and I like being on your blog here because you show how creative that you could get and just information that you share for people. For instance, the invention of the espresso machine is one of the reads on the blog, but here's one that also caught my eye as well because you're seeing a lot of advertising this day and age of collagen and acid-free coffee, the ultimate combo, which sounds like an interesting read here. But, you know, that's the point, is that you can then become creative, much as I had mentioned earlier about the YouTube channel. Sure, coffee is your business staple, but you love cars too. So how do you find a way to merge those two together and help your business grow? You know, and who knows, maybe you can start a car business as well. You know, hey, we've got a car that we've invented that runs on Tyler's coffee.
Yes. Yes.
Because it's acid free, the pistons and all that won't wear down as fast as they would if it was gasoline.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. Actually, you know, I think you know, on that topic, I think I really am a big believer of hydrogen. I think we've got so much potential in hydrogen vehicles. Way bigger than electric.
Right. Well, they actually had invented a water car, back in the 1930s.
Of course.
Yeah, and of course it was squashed because the company the guy had the idea and built this car from just took it all because, well, you did it, you know, as a result of our company and our tools and all this, and they just crushed it. But I think that might be making a comeback, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I think you know, if we can actually get on a full okay, so kind of all different topics here, but I guess this has validity because it's about business. When you try to create an electric car, you are literally creating a high polluting vehicle that is greenwashed with the idea of zero emissions. It's BS, and whoever tells you otherwise is absolutely blowing smoke up your skirt, and I'll explain why. The second you take that car to a power station, you are creating fossil fuel, because I would say 90% of power stations run off of coal.
Right.
So, you know,
I think it was Jay Leno, because he's comedian Jay Leno, former host of The Tonight Show, I believe, because he loves cars, that he actually showed a car that he has a car that runs on water, I believe. And he was saying, you know, this is a car you could park it in the garage, you can sit inside of it with the windows down, and you could run it, and you would die from starvation faster than you would from the emissions, because it was almost a zero emission car. And I was like, wow.
I love that.
Yeah, crazy stuff. Well, listeners, I know we got off topic. We're talking about, you know, Tyler's Coffee. We're talking about taking an idea to a large business, if that's your goal. One of the things I like to say is, why build a giant company when you can build a lifestyle? That's another way you can look at this whole thing, too. And tylerscoffees.com is certainly where you can find out more about this story. And certainly, you know, get a bag of coffee, see what you think. Anything you want to share with our listeners in closing here?
You got to make sure that you always take care of your customer. Regardless of what's going on, always take care of your customer. Your customer is your lifeline to your business, your success. I cannot stress that enough.
Well, we'll look forward to seeing you as you grow, and it's been a lot of fun having you on the program today, and thank you again for joining us here on the Beyond 50 radio show.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you for having me.
We want to thank you, the listeners out there, for joining us. You can discover more at beyond50radio.com, the number 50. We do encourage you to sign up for our weekly e-newsletter. Stay up to date with what's going on in the world of Beyond 50, as well as our upcoming shows. I'm Daniel Davis. This is the Beyond 50 radio show. Thanks again for joining us. And remember, wherever you are is where you should be. Have a great day.